We installed a bed rack to carry all our overlanding accessories. Stay tuned to see how it goes together. What's going on, guys? It's Justin here, and you don't have to wear a hard hat and work boots to put a ladder rack to good use. Bed and ladder racks are also quite useful for both daily driven trucks and adventure rigs like our Roman Gladiator here. That's why our JT is getting a Rockslide Engineering bed and ladder rack. It's versatile, durable, and yes, even easy to install. We'll show you the entire process here in a minute. But first, be sure to like and subscribe to that Summit Racing YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any fun content like this, and punch that notification bell so you're the first to know when we post a new video. So here at Summit Racing, we offer a variety of bed and ladder racks, and we went with Rockslide Engineering for a few reasons. First, we already used their awesome steps on our Jeep and they work amazing, so it was a no-brainer when we saw their bed rack. Second, it's made out of durable steel that's 11 gauge, so it's super thick and strong, and we know we're gonna be able to bolt a ton of accessories to it. It's also compatible with various rail mount tonneau covers, so you can carry gear in your truck bed, and it also has multiple mounting points and tie down points as well. Its flip up size provides space to mount gear and offer easy access to the bed. And finally, the top cross members are removable for those times you need to transport tall items in your bed. It even comes with grab handles at the rear of the rack to make it easier to climb in and out of the truck bed. What's not to love? Now let's go take a look at what comes in the box. So here's our rack all laid out. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but this is going to assemble into one awesome bed rack that we'll be able to accessorize with whatever we want. You know, between different pieces and gear, it's really gonna be cool. So just a couple highlights. You have our kind of base mounting rails here for the bed. You have our cross rails over there that, like I say, a rooftop tent or something can mount to. And then these cool panels here, these have all sorts of different tie downs and areas. So my idea for those is I wanna mount some Milwaukee pack outs on the side so we can get the toolkits and all that stuff. But enough talking about this stuff. Let's get this bed rack assembled and installed on our Gladiator. So our first step is to start assembling the lower rails, and these are side specific. So I have the driver's side here, that's what I'm starting with. And then you have to put on these front caps. Where this bolts on, you're gonna wanna bolt the side that has 3 bolt holes on the bottom versus 1 on the top. If you have 1 on the top, it's not gonna fit together correctly. So yeah, just look for these 2 closer holes to the bottom. And then we're gonna get 2 carriage bolts, 2 washers, and 2 nylock nuts. And then I'm gonna leave these a little bit loose. We don't wanna tighten stuff up and it be out of whack. So I'm gonna leave those just like that. Next, we're gonna go ahead and install our center pillar bracket, and we are gonna be repeating all these steps on the other side. So we're gonna go ahead and get these bolts ran down with our 7/16 wrench. Just like before, I'm not gonna tighten these all the way. I'm gonna leave everything a little bit loose, so I'm able to manipulate this stuff. Go ahead and get this done on our next one. Now we're gonna go ahead and get the handle sides bolted to the lower rails using a regular hex bolt, a nylock, and a washer. And there's 2 bolts, nylocks, and washers per handle side. So we're actually gonna do this a total of 4 times. And now we're gonna go ahead and get our upper rail installed, and this just kind of sit on top here and go in between the couple of other pieces we have installed. So it's gonna sit right about there, and then we're gonna get some hardware thrown in this thing. Now, one of the things that I forgot to show you guys that I truly recommend for this is to grab a little bit of Never Seez, and you're gonna wanna put a dot on all your hardware as you're assembling it. So the top rail on, this thing's really coming together, and now we need to put the front of the rear grab handle in, and that's just gonna go in here like this. You want the nice radius side heading towards the top, and just is gonna get 4 bolts, nuts, and washers. So let's get that installed. And steps like this are key. That's why we're leaving kind of all the hardware a little loose, so we're able to move and manipulate things and get it where we want it. Now it's time to install our trick grab handles, and these are gonna go back here. It's gonna get this spacer in between, and then a bolt, a washer, and a nut. So now the next step is to go ahead and tighten down all the hardware on this rack side and then assemble your other one exactly like this. So the steps are all gonna be the same between left and right. Now where this is gonna vary a little bit is we have the deluxe rack. So if you have the basic rack and you're building along with us, your instructions are gonna get a little different, and you're gonna wanna check out Rockslide Engineering's instructions for the basic rack build and install. So I'm gonna go ahead and go get all this hardware tightened and then get our other bedside assembled as well. So we got this thing all assembled and torqued down. Now these are all 1/4-20 bolts. So the torque spec for a 1/4-20 bolt is about 76 inch-pounds, about 8 foot-pounds. You can always convert it. So if you don't have a torque wrench, which I highly recommend you always get one that really good, nice and tight, but you know, don't break them. But we're gonna go ahead and get the passenger side assembled now, and it's gonna be the exact same procedure that we assembled the driver's side with. So let's get this off the bench and get the new one on. So we got both of our sides assembled, so I'm gonna get this thing off the bench. We're gonna get our cross rails bolted together, and then it's finally time to start putting this stuff on the Jeep. So we got our 2 crossbars here, and we have 4 of these crossbar brackets. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and get these bolted to the ends. With each of these is gonna use 4 regular 1/4-20 hex bolts, some washers, and nylock nuts, just like the ones we've been using. So let's get these installed. Just go ahead and repeat that step 3 more times to finish these crossbars up. So to mount our rack to our Gladiator, we're gonna use the factory Mopar rail system. Now this comes on a lot of Gladiators, but if your Gladiator doesn't have these, you're able to purchase these separately and mount them inside. And not only Mopar makes these, but there's also a couple aftermarket companies as well. So if you don't have these in your Gladiator, head over to the Summit Racing website and pick up a set. Now, the way it's gonna mount, it's gonna use these little nut plates, and the way these go in, nut facing towards the inside of the rail, we're just gonna slip them in like this and then turn them up on their side, and then they're inside. So there's 3 on each side, so we're just gonna kind of throw them in at random places, and then when we set the rack side on, we'll slide them into place and get the bolts through. So we got our nut plates in our rail, and we're ready to start putting our sides on. So we're gonna start with the passenger side first. I do recommend to maybe have a friend to help you put this on there. I did eat my Wheaties this morning, so I'm gonna be able to pick this up and throw it up there no problem. Just kind of position it up there on your bed rail like that. Then you're gonna slide it to the edge like this. So we're gonna grab our hardware here, and these are hex bolts with a lock washer and then a regular stainless washer, and I did throw some never sees on these as well. And get this bolt started. Now this, I will just say, is a little hard by yourself. Now one thing I did change before I put the side rails on, I went ahead and put the factory cleats back in this. So I slid those nut plates back off and then slid these into place, just because I figured we're going to be using these as tie downs a lot, and you can't get them in and out with the rack on. So just kind of food for thought. You know, you can move these to the front rail and use those to mount stuff up there, but I liked them in this place, so I slid them back into place, and I'm sorry I didn't show you guys. So I got this side installed and hung, but I'm not gonna tighten anything up yet because I'm gonna get the other side installed, these lined up, and then our 1 cross brace installed, so we make sure everything is square. So I'm gonna get the driver's side thrown on, and then we'll move on. So now we're gonna throw our front cross brace in between our 2 rails. So I'm gonna grab this piece here. Get it into place. Leave that there for a second. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw some washers, nuts, and never sees on these bolts, and we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So we have these all installed and snugged up, but not tight, so we're able to manipulate it still so we can maneuver this thing into place when we go to do our final tightening. I'm gonna go to the other side and get the other 4 bolts installed. So now it's time to get our cross braces installed, and I'm gonna go ahead and install one up here and then right here. I have plans on putting a rooftop tent on top of this thing, so that's where I think they're gonna have to live. But the cool part is that not only are they adjustable, but they're removable as well. So if we decide to put dirt bikes in the bed of this thing or something large, we can move them right out of the way, quick and easy, to get whatever we need in the bed. So it really doesn't take away any of the functionality of our Gladiator's bed. Now, kind of an installation tip for you guys is there's no good way to tighten this bottom bolt, so you're gonna wanna get those installed and snugged up before you put the outsides in, because once the outsides are in, you can't get to them. So I learned that the hard way. So let's go ahead and get the other ones installed on the other side and then the other cross brace in. So let's get our other cross brace installed. Just gonna take it and I'm gonna set it up right here at these holes. So we're getting close to finishing this thing up. We just need to go ahead and tighten everything and then get our folding sides installed. So we're in the home stretch, but what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start tightening everything on the rack, and we're gonna work our way from the bottom up. So we're gonna tighten the bottom rails first, and then we're gonna tighten the cross beam between the front and then the top cross rail. So let's get to it. So now with the frame of our rack all assembled and torqued, man, this thing looks good. It's time to put our flip up accessory panels on. And one of the first things we need to do is go ahead and install these rubber bumpers. Now one's gonna go here where I have this bolt, one's gonna go here, and then one's gonna go here. So let's get this bolt yanked out and get this installed. Next, let's get this one installed, and remember, don't forget the never sees. With that done, now we're gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. So now we're ready to put together our hinge brackets for our folding sides, and this is gonna go together in a very particular order. So the first thing we wanna do is insert our carriage bolts that go in, and this will make sense in a minute, guys, I promise. Then we're gonna wanna go ahead and get our hinge bolted on. So I already threw some never sees on these bolts because I'll be honest, I pre-fitted this to make sure. And just like that, it's ready to party. Go ahead and repeat this on the other 3, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now we're gonna take the brackets we just built and get them installed. So if you look on your top rails, there's 4 different sets of holes. So we have holes here, and the matching ones on the other side. These are gonna slip in here like this, and then we're just gonna put 2 nuts and 2 washers on the back of each one. So we're gonna get this one installed and then repeat that in the 3 other locations. Now with this bracket attached, go ahead and attach the other 3. So now we're ready to build our ball stud brackets, and it's very important to note the orientation that you put these together. I'll show you guys here in the video, but if you have any more questions or aren't sure, refer to the instructions. I'm just gonna take this and thread these on. So now I'm assembling the ball stud brackets for the struts for our flip out sides, and it's important to note that the 2 smaller brackets, you're gonna need to go ahead and bolt these on first and then insert the ball stud and get all that tight. If you don't, you can't get the back screw in. So I've also gone ahead and assembled the other 4. If you want to see the proper orientation of the brackets, just refer to the instructions and it shows it very clearly. So let's get these attached to the Jeep. So if you look here on our passenger side bracket, there's a small triangle cut out. And if you look here on our lower brace, there's a small triangle cut out here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna line those up, and that's how we know what bracket goes on this side. The driver's side is like a half moon circle, so you can't really get them mixed up. So I'm just gonna get the screws started. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove these 2 lower bolts on each side to bolt some ball studs in place. Next, install the ball stud in the hole of the bolt we just removed. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So now we have our flip up sides ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and install our ball stud brackets on that. And the orientation of these is very important. Refer to the instructions to see the proper orientation, or watch our video because I think I got it right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other panel. Now we're gonna slide our panel onto the brackets, get our bolts inserted, and get this thing all attached. So I have it slid over there. I'm gonna grab it here in the center and hold it. Those on that side, I'm just gonna put one in this side so it's not sliding around as much. Might as well just go ahead and throw the other one in. And then I'm gonna fold the panel up like this. Just like that, our panel is installed. Now while I'm over here, I'm gonna throw our gas struts on as well. With the gas struts on, you can see how this works. When they're down, it kind of snaps into place. And we're also gonna have safety straps on this that'll go here. We'll mount those here in a minute. But yeah, the gas strut takes it right out of the way. And so when we have gear and everything on it, they're strong enough to lift everything out of the way. But now we're gonna go and repeat this on the other side. So let's go over there. So now it's time to install our bumpers for our flip down sides on our deluxe rack. And it's important to note that you put these little black collars on the back of the bumpers so they stick out far enough so the sides have something to hit. If not, they'll contact this and rub your powder coat off. So go ahead, insert them in the 6 different holes, which you can look in the instructions to see the 6 different locations. And then just put a nut in the washer on the back. And then we're gonna go ahead and snug these things down and repeat this 6 different times. To finish up this install, we need to go ahead and install these rubber straps that are gonna secure our sides down when they're folded down. So there's a couple different locations to bolt these on, kind of one on each corner, and we're just gonna put them into place like this. So let's take a little bit of a look at our freshly installed bed rack from Rockside Engineering. Our rooftop tent is gonna sit right on top of these crossbars, and it's gonna make camping that much easier to set up after a long day of wheeling. And with these side panels, we'll be able to mount our traction boards or high lift or anything else we can think of right to them. And the cool part is they just swing out of the way if we need to get to something in the front or middle of the bed. Now the only thing we have left to do is to go test this out and load this thing full of overlanding gear. So until next time, I'm Justin with Summit Racing, and the golden question is, what are you working on?